It's 1 o'clock now. Thank you for waiting. Now we would like to start Real Symposium 2016. Start your preventive medicine with natural astaxanthin. Well, thank you very much for coming to this meeting despite of the holiday. My name is Keiko Fuyama, and working at the Kyoto and the Tokyo Medical College. And I am the writer for the newspaper, but I would like to act as an MC for this meeting. With the opening of this meeting, I would like to ask Dr. Yoshikawa to make the opening address for this meeting. I would like to briefly introduce Dr. Yoshikawa to you. Dr. Yoshikawa is the specialist aging free radical and for the GI area, and has focused on the astaxanthin from the early period of time. And he will talk about the preventive medicine to reduce the cost of the medicine, and he will talk about how the astaxanthin will help us to reduce the cost and to prevent the disease. Dr. Yoshikawa, please. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming to this meeting. Astaxanthin, or Real, is the most focused material in the world as well as in Japan. And in the future, it will contribute for the preventive medicine as well as for the treatment of certain diseases. I myself has my necktie in red, and it's a red tissue. Astaxanthin has a red tissue. So whatever we do in the experiment, everything will be stained red. And by administer astaxanthin from the mouse, we would like to prevent various diseases. Well, I originally studied about free radicals and ROS. With oxidation, many diseases will be induced. And within the tube and with animals and with humans, I have proven this fact. But if we have the anti-oxidation material or the substance which can reduce oxidation, we have considered that it may prevent certain diseases, and we have continued our research. And carotenoid and red tissue, astaxanthin, has a very strong antioxidative capacity, and that is related with the prevention of the oxidative stress for the very important substance for our longevity. And it works on the membrane of the cells, and to prevent the oxidation of the cell membrane. And red blood cell membrane will harden with oxidation, but by making it more flexible, it is possible to transport oxygen to all the parts of the body. So we can prevent the ischemic diseases such as cerebral ischemia and others. Or maybe we can treat some of the diseases. And the DNA damage is related with the cancer and the senescence of the cells. And on top of that, we are now focusing on the mitochondrial membrane. And the mitochondria, when we get the oxygen and to release the energy, then the part of the free radical will also be produced, and with that free radical or ROS, various cells will be attacked by the mitochondria, which is a source of energy. So the defects on the membrane of the mitochondria may lead to the death of the certain part of the cells. So to remove the part of the ROS or from the mitochondria may contribute to the improvement of the health of the cells. And astaxanthin has the OH base, and vitamin E has only one, but it has two on the both ends. And H or hydrogen will suppress the oxidation. So the OH on both sides of the membrane has a very strong antioxidation capacity. The free radical response is the H or the hydrogen will remove those. But if the electron is removed, then it will return to the free radical again. So the astaxanthin is a pro-oxidant, and oxidation is quite weak. So it suppresses oxidation and has a less oxidative tendency. So it can stop the free radical chain reaction to produce ROS. So it's a very strong antioxidative substance. Another characteristic is when we have the UV, then the singlet oxygen will be produced, and it can cause wrinkle and spots, and those will be eliminated by those astaxanthin. So it is quite strong for this kind of the skin damage by the sunlight. And with the national broadcasting program, we have a certain program with the astaxanthin that we recommend to eat red foods. And today we have many speakers who will talk about the astaxanthin in terms of the preventive medicine. So we consider the medical expenditure as a major problem in our society, and so we would like to solve this problem. With aging or the super aging of the society, the productive population or the working population is around here right now. So the number will decrease drastically in the near future. And furthermore, we are now here. The aged population will increase. And a younger generation is now decreasing. So this will happen to other Asian countries and in the United States as well as in European countries. And the situation is like this in Japan. So in Japan, with a super aging, and it is worthwhile to make very good researches and which will contribute to the lesson of this issue in other countries in the United States or Europe or in Asian countries in the future. So the fruits of the research that we are now doing will provide benefits to other countries as well. the lifestyle-related diseases such as the diabetes, dyslipidemia, or the hypertension are the major problem right now. And these will be the cause of the cancer. So it can be the national policy to reduce these lifestyle-related diseases in order to reduce the burden by the cancer. When we look at the medical expenditure in Japan, the national expenditure is about 33 trillion yen, and 2 trillion are in diabetes, and the cerebral diseases is about 2 trillion yen, and the cancer 3 trillion yen, and hypertension and the ischemic heart disease about 4 trillion yen. So including the diabetes, a lifestyle-related disease is a major contributor for the increase of the medical expenditure in Japan. So if we can prevent that, we can reduce expenditure in the future. And if we can reduce this expenditure, we can use that extra money such as the more advanced medical areas, such as the regenerative medicine. So we would like to prevent, if possible, the diseases, and that will secure us the longevity, healthy longevity. And personalized nutrition is important. So the functional and best for the individual should be used, such as to use astaxanthin for the improving the longevity as well as the health of the individual. Astaxanthin research are now going on quite actively. I belong to the research meeting, or I'm the chair of that meeting for the research on the astaxanthin. And there are many good clinical researches, and also there are many basic researches which had been published already. And those who come to this meeting, when you go back to your own home, you will realize that astaxanthin is a wonderful and excellent substance. But at the society called the Astaxanthin Research Meeting, we would like to reconfirm how wonderful this substance is. And if we do the meeting twice a year, then everyone will believe in. But from the tip of the head to your leg, the astaxanthin has a very good effect for all the cells related. And the circulation to the brain will be improved, and then we can prevent the dementia, or the apoplexy due to the bleeding can be prevented with eyes. And we can prevent various diseases caused by the oxidation. And we have some muscle to move the eyes, and muscle fatigue can be prevented with the use of the astaxanthin, so that we can vitalize our eyes' activity. And the skin on the cheeks, there are many precancerous lesions observed. Luckily, Japan is rather protected because of the skin color. However, the skin cancer incidence is increasing. And I had the experience of the two instances of the cancer, skin cancer, and also the wrinkle and the spot is caused by the singlet, the oxygen's result. So we have to remove that. And for the immune system, we have to consider. and for the liver and the heart, and for the diabetes, and for the muscle. It can prevent the fatigue of the muscle as well. And also, it is related with the fertility. And the fertility may be negatively affected by the oxidation, and that can be improved by the use of the astaxanthin. And we can say it can be effective for the frailty. And frailty with aging or with disease or with a less active style or with stresses, every part of the body will become frail. And astaxanthin has a role to play for the prevention of that frailty. And the salmon has the red meat, and we have the food chain to introduce this astaxanthin to improve our muscles. So while eating the salmon, we can improve or maintain our young youth as well as the muscle strength. And we now call this a preemptive medicine. A preemptive medicine is not to treat a disease which has already happened, but it is to have lessen the effect of the pre-disease condition, so that that condition will not develop to the final disease stage. And I think this is a major challenge for us. But in order to do that, it is not possible to use a drug because disease has not fully developed yet. And if we use a drug with some adverse events, of course, if we have some disease, we would like to use a drug to treat that, even with the side effects. We would like to use some foods or the supplements which can maintain the present situation and may help to improve the disease condition and without any adverse events. So the astaxanthin is our topic today, and we will know how wonderful it is and how it is effective for the prevention. And it may have some effect for the person with a certain disease. And also, we can use astaxanthin as a preemptive medicine or preemptive food to prevent the disease. I have used about 20 minutes, which may be longer than the speaker, but I have only 10 seconds left with me. But I would like to conclude my opening address with this. Thank you very much. Dr. Yoshikawa, thank you very much for your opening address.
And we would like to start a panel discussion. And we are going to have several themes in the panel discussion. Diabetes, muscle, gut-brain axis, and so on. We have 5 members, distinguished guests on the topics. And this session would be Dr. Horikoshi, Dr. Hiroshi Horikoshi, a graduate from the University of Tokyo, mastering the agricultural science, and joined the Sankyo KK, and he headed as the president of San Diego Daiichi Sankyo Research Institute. He is an expert on the diabetes treatment. And I would like to invite moderator Dr. Horikoshi. Thank you for the introduction. Dr. Uyama introduced me previously on this session. My name is Horikoshi, and I'm a facilitator or coordinator for the panel discussion session. It is my pleasure and honor. Previously, at the opening speech, Dr. Yoshikawa gave remarks on the lifestyle-related diseases, especially diabetes. It is exponentially increasing, and also the dementia along aging, and the reserve army of pre-diabetes and pre-dementia population is increasing. And of course, this relates to the increasing medical and healthcare costs. And recently, Alzheimer's disease is said to be the third type of diabetes in brain, so to speak. This is a new concept in capturing diabetes. So addressing diabetes means addressing brain issues. That is a trend of the modern research. Next, mitochondria. Within mitochondria, the reactive oxygen species can be removed with the activity of astaxanthin. And there are many health-related reports about astaxanthin, and this was discussed by Dr. Yoshikawa as well. This slide indicates many clinical researchers and peer-reviewed published papers. There are a lot of evidence being generated in this field. So today, having that rich with a research background, the orange-colored panels, brain, liver, GI tract, diabetes, and muscle. Those panels of experts would be part of this panel discussion session. Astaxanthin and its latest research findings would be shared with the audience. And I'm going to give the name of the panelist, Dr. Ota. He's going to talk about inflammation and insulin resistance and common pathophysiology for diabetes and dementia. And he's going to share his recent publications and research findings. Previous moderator, Dr. Yuji Naito, would discuss gut-brain axis. Then it will be followed by panel discussion. I would like to invite Dr. Ota.
Please refer to the page 7 of the program for the Dr. Ota's CV. Dr. Ota, please. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ota from Kansai University. Dr. Horikoshi, thank you very much for your introduction. And my topic is diabetes and brain, and insulin resistance, and in the liver and in the fat are my specialty. So I would like to introduce you about the result of the research in NASH. And the third type of the diabetes, that is the dementia. So the people with a diabetes will have a higher instance of the dementia. So inflammation and insulin resistance are the common pathway for the diabetes as well as for the dementia. So I would like to briefly talk about that. I'm from Kanazawa and was bred trained. There are many tourists. And astaxanthin came from the Ishikawa prefecture. So we are closely related with the birth of the astaxanthin. And the anti-inflammatory effect of the astaxanthin, especially for the liver, is my major expert. And inflammation and insulin resistance may be the common pathogenicity. As you can see here, the obese population is increasing. 30%, 35% goes beyond the BMI or beyond the 25, and the number will increase in the future. So the obese population will increase, and what happens in the liver of the patients, as you can see here, and you can have the NASH and NFLD, and BMI is high for the type 2 diabetes, and with a high risk NASH. It's now increasing in the United States. So the targeting drug is now under development and is quite competitive. And this condition may go to the cirrhosis as well as a cancer, but right now we don't have any good drug to treat. So from the NFLD, it will go to the NASH, and insulin resistance is related. And from the fatty liver to the NASH, the oxidative stress is related for its progression. For the simple fatty liver to NASH, and the supplement to reduce oxidative stress, there are many, you know. And antioxidative stress, one of the representative supplements is astaxanthin. And the starting point of the research is this data. That for the progression of the NASH, only one antioxidant is vitamin E or alpha tocopherol. And in comparison to vitamin E, is there any better efficacy for the substance? And astaxanthin has about 500 times larger antioxidative power, and it should be much more useful for the treatment or the prevention of the NASH from the fatty liver. And I would like to show you that one result for its efficacy with a high fat. And this is a NASH model for the inflammation to this process. On the right, vitamin E is effective, but astaxanthin with the same level of the dose can prevent the fibrosis as well as to the inflammation. If it goes to the fibrosis, it will lead to the cirrhosis as well as a cancer. So the astrocytes, when we look at it, it can reduce or suppress this fibrosis extensively. And inflammation is one marker or the turning point for the fibrosis, and the Kupffer cell plays an important role, and macrophage plays an important role, and related with the M1 type and M2 type macrophage, and the balance between the two is quite important. If it is unbalanced, it is related with the pathogenesis. Astaxanthin, with the use of that, macrophage number itself decreased, and on top of that, M1 macrophage reduced, and good macrophage M2 increases. So it has a very interesting action. So it influences both the volume as well as the quality of the macrophage. Astaxanthin has a very strong antioxidative capacity, so it can suppress the NAFLD, and it is related with quite a strong antioxidative capacity, and also it can improve the balance between the good and bad macrophage, and it can be elucidated by the animal models. Then how about for the human? With regard to clinical study, we have already studied. This is a 12 milligram astaxanthin for 6 months. For case 1, and a lipid accumulation was inhibited. Not much information, but with 6 months of supplementation, the condition improved. And for case 2, as you can see, fibrosis already happened, so it can be called NASH or the cirrhosis. So the fibrosis seems not to be improved. However, the fat accumulation has improved. And with 1 year or 2 years, the fibrosis might have been improved, although the study itself had stopped at 6 months. So the astaxanthin can improve the ectopic factor deposition, and it happens in the liver. That is a NASH. So with the diabetes and with the heart failure, and it has a positive effect for the heart as well. And astaxanthin can work with the liver toxicity, can improve that, and I think it is a common pathway for the improvement of the condition. And how about its function in the brain? With the aged population with diabetes, Alzheimer's incidence is higher, and there might be a common pathway for the progression. And inflammation is common, and oxidative stress is common, and they are deeply related with the incidence of these brain-related diseases. And insulin works to the liver, muscle, and fat. However, recently, insulin resistance in the brain is said to be related not to the sugar metabolism, but related with the insulin works to there are the receptor for the insulin on the hippocampus, and it is related with the regulation of the satiety. And this is related with the plasticity of the synapse, and these are related with the learning capability as well as a memory capability. And with insulin resistance in the brain is related with diabetes as well as aging, and it might be related with a reduction of the insulin signaling, and that might be related with the less plasticity of the synapse. And I would like to show you more data. And Kana had shown the new mouse. And we see this mouse with resistance, then the antioxidation, or excuse me, the T-bus increases with the oxidative stress, and oxidative stress is quite strong in the brain. So the insulin resistance exists in the brain. This oxidative stress occurs, and the dopamine signal is damaged, and it may lead to the anxiety as well as a depression disorder. So as I mentioned today, and metabolic syndrome or the type 2 diabetes and the fatty livers has a common pathway such as insulin resistance and so on. And to the molecular mechanism, there are many things unknown to us right now, but inflammation is an important keyword for us. With Alzheimer's disease, the amyloid beta is accumulated and stimulate the microglia, and TNF-alpha produced by that can induce inflammation and insulin signal. If we can reduce that, then the memory disturbance or the Alzheimer's disease-related inflammation might be inhibited. And serine phosphorylation might be a common signal, and that can be improved. Then it is possible to make this a target for the astaxanthin, and that is a focusing point for our research. We have not reached to that stage yet, but as a GLP-1 receptor agonist, and we improve the signal, then the insulin signal reduction can occur, and together we can improve the dementia situation. So the inflammation, insulin resistance, and the oxidative stress, that is a mitochondrial dysfunction, are the common factor for the diabetes as well as Alzheimer's. And astaxanthin for the type 2 diabetes and for the fatty liver, it should be quite effective because it works on the same signal. Then the astaxanthin might be a good treatment or the preventive substance for the Alzheimer's disease in the future. So the astaxanthin has various aspects to modulate the living body's functions. Then if we have this common mechanism, the research will develop furthermore. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Ota, for your presentation.
Next, by Dr. Yuji Naito. Brain-gut axis. Gut-brain axis is the topic of his presentation. Well, thank you for the introduction. The Kyoto Municipal Medical College, Naito is my name. No animals and living species lives without gut. Every living creature do have gut. Some animal species are brainless, but everyone has guts. So microflora, intestinal microflora is my topic. And this was the public broadcasting station's program. Our President Yoshikawa, appeared 4 times in a day in the NHK World TV program, international TV program. And astaxanthin was born in Japan, and we would like to perhaps publicize its benefits to the rest of the world, so to speak. And this is my storyboard of the day. So what is the relationship between gut and brain? And next, gut-brain axis regulation is controlled by microbiota. They are the regulators. And the specific intestinal microflora may induce ulcerative colitis and so on. And intestinal flora determination is mainly by the biota, environment, and infant environment. And our personality is determined by our diet. And also, what is the role of astaxanthin? And last but not the least, what about the stressful society and the life in stressful society from gastroenterology specialist? How do we observe people's life and the stress and the role of the astaxanthins? Some of my patients at the outpatient department of gastroenterology, there are so many patients complaining the abdominal discomfort. And when they are not stressful, they say their gut feels better, their tummy is okay. But when they feel stressed, their tummies are not okay. And they have some gut problems, CRH, CRF, hormones, and factors can explain this phenomena of stress and gut problem in scientific way. For example, there are so many irritable bowel syndrome patients, maybe as many as 12 million in this country, but many of them do have concomitant diseases: insomnia, 50%, panic disorder, 12 to 41%, regurgitative esophagitis, 25 to 51%, and psychosomatic disorders, 25 to 33%, and depression, 29%, and functional dyspepsia, 23 to 53%, and so on. And surprisingly, colorectal cancer mortality is the highest in the world. Japan is not proud of this awful statistics. And the female top mortality cause is colorectal cancer. And this shows a linear growth. The Crohn's diseases and ulcerative colitis are increasing despite of little change in genes, but we have a big change in the environment. Perhaps that is the cause of this particular statistics. Many outpatients do not complain the gut problems. They take OTC or supplements to kind of reduce their chronic constipations, ADHD at school, and IBS, and diabetes, metabolic syndrome, obesity, and fatty liver, and NASH, and depression, and so on. And in a word, doctors would say, oh, stress did it. So it's not being treated, it's not being diagnosed. If I'm the prime minister of the country, I would see this is a highly, detrimental to the productivity of the country, and the examination rate and the treatment rate of this particular phenomena is too low, I would say. Meaning to say, brain is the control tower of the body. And nowadays, we are seeing that the guts are the control tower of the overall body. So not only diabetes, but atherosclerosis and brain disease and heart disease and others may be improved by proper treatment in the gut or better environment in the gut. And this is not a gene therapy at all. This is a highly straightforward intervention into guts and into body, so to speak. And it is quite efficacious, so to speak. So gut-brain axis research would lead to a new treatment. And the intestinal flora is a key here. How key is it? Nowadays, we have many research findings to prove the case. For example, mouse. This is an ordinary mouse with the intestinal flora. And the bottom is a germ-free mouse, C-section. And this mouse has been treated with a germ-free environment. Let's say when the animal is put into box, usually they feel anxious and they poise into corners. But the germ-free mouse are aggressive, restless, do not feel anxiety, and it has a very low learning capability. Meaning to say, without the intestinal flora, brain maturity does not occur. This is the mouse research. Pups, however, it could be applicable to humans. This is Ajinomoto Company's recent children's data. Restlessness and aggressiveness and anger control problems and violent kids are quite obvious nowadays. I have not examined their intestinal flora, but I have a strong suspicion that their intestinal flora is not what it used to be in the children in the previous ages, so to speak. This is the multiple functions of intestinal flora. Bone mineral density is affected, and immune maturities and nervous system maturities and so on. Individual intestinal flora components must be studied to establish their functions. Inflammatory bowel disease is my specialty, and IBS is another. And we have feces microbiota transplantation as a new treatment modality, so to speak. And perhaps for antibiotic treatment resistant or risk patient, we have a new treatment. And one more interesting piece of evidence. Green is the Crohn's disease annual prevalence. And the bottom is the multiple sclerosis patients. And 20,000 or 50,000 are the highest number recorded, and they look so similar in pattern, so to speak. And we had genome sequencers used to examine the intestinal flora of patients of the Crohn's disease and the multiple sclerosis. And their intestinal flora patterns are very similar. And it suggests a strong correlation of the intestinal flora and such an intractable diseases. And we would like to input such new findings into new research. For example, Japanese patient feces would be transplanted to germ-free mouse. And from Japanese fecal flora, we found beneficial strains. For example, Clostridium, 17 strains have been identified and patented. But I think it has been bought quickly by the Western companies. Perhaps it could be in the future expensive new brand of yogurt products from those companies. And Treg can suppress and inhibit allergies and many other inflammatory diseases. And the Treg-rich people in the world is Amish, who migrated from Europe to the United States. And they do not live in an industrialized society, but they have intestinal flora, a lot of Tregs, and they do not have pollen allergies, and they do not have such bowel diseases. Perhaps their historical intestinal environment may be the key to suppress those diseases, so to speak. What determines intestinal flora? It is predetermined genetically, and maternal fetal conditions, C-sections, breastfed, or preschool ages determines most of the intestinal flora you have. But it can be improved, it can be made worse by your lifestyle later on, so to speak. High-fat food and low-fiber diet, and in the end, you may end up with obesity and diabetes and so on. But there are several factors which are determinant of the life's, I would say, intestinal flora in the lifestyle. Dietary fiber was the greatest player. It has been identified previously, so to speak. In the pre-modern days, people had much more dietary fibers in their food, but not nowadays. But it does not end up our generation, but also it affects the upcoming generations. I'm not pointing out any fast food chain out of this, but this is a nurse epidemiological study, so to speak. And you can see diet and physical activities are the two keys to determine the future of the intestinal flora and the outcome, so to speak. And this is obesity causing so many different cancer deaths, so to speak. And colorectal cancer is a very popular cancer, meaning to say obesity, diabetes, and others may study, and this epidemic is a third cycle. And this may, in the end, leading to the prevention of cancers. And on the left, you have many genetic predispositions. But with high-fat disease, your intestinal flora changes into the similar pattern. And this is mouse, but it may cross species as a phenomenon, so to speak. Astaxanthin, thank you very much. Prime Minister's Monozukuri Japan Great Award has been given to me and the President. Of course, there were no money involved in this award, but I am quite honored to have this award given to me and the President. And when he delivered the certificate, I get this picture. And Japan has a long-lasting leadership in the research here. And we have 2008 publication. Astaxanthin improves metabolism in exercise. CPT1 is a receptor and a transporter, and the mitochondria function will be affected. So by affecting CPT1, mitochondria activities can be improved, so to speak. And this is a post-translational modification of the affected proteins. And the fatty acid burning can be improved with a good impact on CPT1. This is PGC1 alpha master regulator. One last comment about the gut, so to speak. IBS is increasing nowadays in our country, and stressful life, including the work, may cause it. But we see so many patients, and we do a lot of animal experiments. There's some hint here. Gut-brain axis has some memory functions. Perhaps patients got affected memories, which may induce themselves to IBS, to constipation and diarrhea. And one of the said stress is the maternal separation stress, postpartum maternal separation, like 3 hours a day, may induce stress memory. When the small animal grew up and get stress exposure, this maternal separation stress memory may kick in so that IBS occur. And such animal model, after stress, would be given astaxanthin so that the CRH has been given periphery. So it's not centrally affected. So that the CRF would be centrally affected. But you see, such mice would have motility abnormalities, so that it ends up with diarrhea when they're exposed to stress, and was given was a postpartum maternal separation stress initially, so to speak. This is an interesting data. So gastroenterology specialists pay attention to food more than ever nowadays, so to speak. And the food, immune system, and the GI tract are associated in our eyes. And many people are researching this. One more thing, one big factor for the intestinal flora is that the high fiber diet, for 3 generations, they can maintain the rich variety. However, when the grandma has a poor diet, then the mother has a poor intestinal flora, and the posterity or us suffers from, say, impoverished intestinal flora. And variety and the count of intestinal flora must be there. This is my ending message. Thank you. And this is my latest book, GI Tracts Are Crying. And this is the title of my book. And I hope you're going to get a copy. Thank you. Thank you very much.
どうも先生ありがとうございました。
Thank you for your very energetic talk. Dr. Conley, would you come up to the stage? So we would like to have the panel discussion from here. But before that, from the United States, Dr. Conley, what do you think about presentations? Do you have any questions or comments to the previous three presentations by Japanese doctors, Dr. Conley?
Well, they were all wonderful presentations, and it shows the role of nutritional supplements like astaxanthin in affecting all organs of the body. And I thought I was very impressed that we heard effects on the brain, effects on the gut, effects on all of the organs, the cardiovascular system. And that says that there are some fundamental changes in all tissues that are being impacted by reactive oxygen species and that can be potentially improved by nutritional supplements like astaxanthin that deal with reactive oxygen species, allowing more adaptation, lower inflammation, and things such as that, that are all the things that lead to degeneration with age. And when you eliminate them or reduce them, you find function maintained longer, cognitive function, function of the heart and cardiovascular system, and a very interesting discussion of how the gut changes and the interactions between these organs in the gut. So it was encouraging to see such excellent work and such extensive work on different organ systems, all of which may have common underlying mechanisms associated with agings that can be targeted to improve life as we get older.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Are there any questions from other speakers? Any specific questions to other speakers? Dr. Ota, do you have any question to other speaker or panel members? Astaxanthin, when we consider absorption from the gut, this absorption is not so high. That's what I consider. Where it goes? First, it goes to the liver. But for other organs, and it goes to the muscle as well. But for the fat, not much. So there is a difference for the transport to the different organs. So the intestinal flora should play an important role. So this should be the first target. And Dr. Naito written various papers for the muscles. But I think there must be important role for the intestinal flora to make it goes to the muscles. If there is any imbalance, there might be some problem. Dr. Naito, do you have any comment on this point? Well, various researchers to change the intestinal flora, what should be done, how to improve the balance. There are so many messages, so we are not sure what message we can believe. Or in Japan, the lactic acid, there are many supplements, but the lactic acid, if they live or dead, they are effective, and those will not grow within the body. So we cannot, it is not possible so that they will live longer and has many work to do. It's not the case. And polyphenol, antioxidative capacity is high, and so there are many polyphenol functions and the catechin, and it cannot be absorbed from the gut. But when we look at in the diabetes area, those substances which cannot be absorbed, but they are somewhat effective. And that mechanism is related as intestinal flora. That kind of data are somewhat available, but it is just preemptive studies. And why astaxanthin and the carotenoid and then the flora is changed. We don't know why it happens. But the human body has a defensin, and the antibacterial peptide may change. So we should start immunology from the first, or the IgE may change because of the change. So for the natural immune and the defensin change may be related. Well, as you mentioned, gut-brain axis and brain-gut axis has a very subtle difference between the two. And we don't have any much time, but Dr. Soya, do you have any comment from your viewpoint?
As Dr. Ota mentioned, astaxanthin is effective for whole body, and especially we focused on brains. And based on several data, we started our study, which I had explained. And animals are used for ingestion of astaxanthin. And the muscles, in the muscle, especially the mitochondrial-rich tissue, especially muscle fibers, intake the astaxanthin. However, only 1/30th. So in the brains, we are studying which part of the brains have the most intake of astaxanthin, and we are focusing on hippocampus and blood-brain barrier, whether astaxanthin can cross the barrier, and also the through the nerve signals, do we have the effect on the peripheral nerves, and that is what we are studying. We are behind the schedule, but I would like to say a few words. This is the summary of this session. Based on the presentations we received today, we know that low-grade chronic inflammation and also mitochondrial dysfunction and insulin resistance could be improved by astaxanthin. And therefore, the improvement of the diseased condition and pre-diseased conditions are expected. And of course, we wanted to hear more from you for discussion. However, time was limited. And this is the last slide I would like to use. For the first, this symposium, Dr. Yoshikawa made the presentation. And in the future, astaxanthin will be creating a new area of medicine, a so-called evidence-based preemptive medicine. In order to have this to be realized, evidence 1 and 2, high evidence have to be created. How to use astaxanthin and what are the contributions of astaxanthin has to be studied with the high evidence. And sorry that we didn't have enough time for good discussion due to my poor management of the time control. And this ends this session. Thank you very much. Dr. Hiroyoshi Horikoshi and Dr. Ota, Dr. Soya and Dr. Naito and Dr. Conley. Thank you very much.
Thank you for waiting. We would like to start the tea break seminar. We'll have a legacy of champion sledge dogs on Astral. And will have the 10 minutes presentation by Dr. Marko Naudolich to talk about Mr. Ellis about using the astaxanthin for the conditioning of the sledge dogs. And Dr. Naudolich is the chief scientific liaison of the Arterial. And he is a key opinion leader and elite athlete. He has talked about the key opinion leaders and the elite athlete. He has conducted various researches. And please refer to page 14 for his CV. Dr. Naudolich, please.
皆さん、こんにちは。Good afternoon. Buon pomeriggio in Italian. There are, I think, over 20 countries here today. I could spend all meetings say good afternoon to you, all of you. But I go quick to what is important. So what we have been studying is very interesting, sled dogs. So first I want to say thank you to most of the people that participated here, and of course the President, Mr. Nishida, who allowed this research to be done. And also to our researchers that helped me, including Ms. Lean, Ms. Farag, and also Mr. Ogura and the President of Sweden, Dr. Arun. Now, what is interesting about this is, as you know, sled dog is a very interesting animal, and this is Agil Ellis. He's a professional dog musher. So he basically won everything that was possible. So he won 12 times the Open North American Champions. He won the World Cup. He won 5 times most of the competition he won. So indeed, the newspaper, this is a Vice Sport newspaper, mentioned, this is the sentence I think is a killer sentence. Ellis won every competition there is to win. And then he won those competitions again and again, until winning became almost embarrassing. So that it's something to keep in mind. And why we are here today? Because those are a very special breed. First one, they mix the dogs, the Alaskan Husky and the German Pointed. So they mix and they make a new breed. Then they have an excellent training that I will discuss later. I'll show you a very powerful video. And then, this is me, by the way. And an excellent feed. So excellent feed is the key point, the secret powerful weapon that has been hidden basically until last year. Nobody knew in the world that those dogs are taking astaxanthin. So those dogs are taking astaxanthin every day for the 12 years, and basically the dog musher didn't want to tell to anyone. It was a secret. So finally we could unbreak that secret. So let me show you a video. Where is the audio?
Scattered around the room. Look what they made it for me. Happy technology. Outside the lion's room.
That is for the racing dogs. Here we go. See the red ones?